should go over, look cool, and convince them to keep the noise down.
Hey, neighbors is getting to each other.
Keep the noise to a minimum if you can.
We got y'all. We won't be no trouble. Remember, don't call the cops. Just call us.
Good morning, class. This is Econ 105, and today we'll be discussing the Glass-Steagall Act versus the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. Now, you might be wondering, what was the Glass-Steagall Act? The Glass-Steagall Act was a Wall Street reform bill following the Great Depression. This was passed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1933 and is shown on the slide. Those involved include Senator Carter Glass and Representative Henry B. Steagall, who wrote the legislation. Carter Glass was a newspaper publisher and progressive politician from Lynchburg, Virginia. He served many years in the United States Congress as a member of the Democratic Party. Henry Steagall was a representative from Clopton, Alabama, and a chairman of the Committee on Banking and Currency. The Glass-Steagall Act was also known as the Banking Act of 1933, and this was a landmark piece of legislation associated with Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal. The Banking Act of 1933 was passed to fix problems from the Great Depression and was passed within days of FDR taking office. It had separated investment and commercial banks for 7 decades, and until 1999, when a push by President Bill Clinton led to most of the act being repealed. This led to indiscriminate mortgage lending, and within 8 years, it caused a financial crisis in 2008. Parts of the Glass-Steagall Act include the establishment of the FDIC. The problem that caused the Great Depression was the rush on the banks to take out money, which they did not have. This part of the act made it law that ensures the deposits and prevents commercial banks from underwriting securities which they place forth. The Glass-Steagall Act restored public confidence in banking. Another part was the separation of commercial banking from investment banking. If the banks are not separated, when one bank comes down, the other falls down as well. This was seen in the 1929 stock market crash. The Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act was a massive piece of legislation passed by the Obama administration in 2010 and was a response to the financial crisis of 2008. The legislation was written by Senators Christopher Dodd and Barney Frank, and the picture shown is President Obama signing the legislation. One of the causes of the Great Recession was the failure of firms that some considered too big to fail. This was due to widespread lending of subprime mortgages. In the picture, Senator Christopher Dodd and Senator Barney Frank are shown. The Act established a number of new government agencies tasked with overseeing various components of the Act. One included the Financial Stability Oversight Council. This was put in place to monitor the financial stability of major firms whose failure could not have a major negative impact on the economy. The ones who were said to be too big to fail. Major firms such as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, as well as Lehman Brothers. Another agency includes the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was established to prevent predatory mortgage lending as well as govern other types of consumer lending. This includes credit and debit cards and addresses consumer complaints. Comparing the two acts, they are very similar. Even though they are 77 years apart, they had similar circumstances. Both happened right after a very significant financial crisis, one being the 1929 stock market crash in the fall in 2008 of the housing market. This both led to Wall Street reform, which has impacted many over decades. And this is our bibliography, and I hope you enjoy our presentation.